News Channel 5 Network. This is MorningLine with Nick Beres.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Beres here with you on a Monday. I hope you're having a good day and hope you're coming off a great weekend, kicking things off this week. Good show today for a very important organization here in Middle Tennessee in the Nashville area that does incredible work, and it's been doing this now for 35 years, the anniversary of Our Kids. We're going to get into what Our Kids does, and hopefully it'll be here for another 35 years. But the truth is, if I had my way, I wish we didn't need an organization like Our Kids. Thank goodness we do. But I want you to join in and listen to what they do today. And I'll get into that, but I'm going to let our guest go there. And we're going to talk about how important it is to be aware of and to take action and to take seriously the problem of child sexual abuse. And with us this morning is the executive director of Our Kids. She's been there for 17 years. Her heart is always in the right place. Sue Ford-White, nice to have you on.
Nick, it is just a delight to be with you this morning.
Well, when I heard Sue was coming on, and it is the 35th anniversary celebrate, and there's a big gathering happening later this week, we'll talk about it. I was so glad you're coming on. I like it. Whenever you come on, and we can't talk about this enough, but would you agree? Wouldn't it be nice if Our Kids wasn't needed?
Well, I think that it would just be the most wonderful thing. And unfortunately, every day we have to come to ground that child sexual abuse happens in every community. It's not just in one zip code or another. It's not one race, one religion. It happens in every community.
All demographic.
Every neighborhood.
Financial.
Oh, yes.
Doesn't matter.
Yes. It does not matter. It's truly an epidemic. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 7 boys, at least, will be sexually abused by age 18. And we really think that that's an understatement, because children frequently do not disclose immediately when something's happened. They're confused, they're very, very scared. And we know that from all the adult survivors that have come to me over the years to disclose what happened to them as children. So we know that's true. So for the viewing, for our viewers this morning, I just wanted to just start out by saying that Our Kids, for 35 years, we have been courageous together. We provide expert medical forensic evaluations and crisis counseling in response to child sexual abuse. We also conduct and publish research, and we're multidisciplinary, so we have nurse practitioners and social workers together with every child and every family. And Nick, that's very unusual, but we have a full complement of social workers because, you know, probably 95% of the time, the perpetrator is someone that's known, trusted, and loved by the family. So when they come to us, when the family comes to us to make sure that their child is okay, this is probably the worst day of their lives. And so we meet them we dignify them, we respect them, we don't judge. We really spend, I mean, an appointment at Our Kids is not a 20-minute medical transaction. It is more like an hour and a half to a 3+ hour intense encounter, because the caregiver that's bringing the child is coming to ground like their entire world is upside down. If they are to believe and protect their child, their 6-year-old, their 11-year-old, you know, their 8-year-old, then it means that the grandfather can't be around the child anymore, or their new husband, or the biological father, the older cousin, the uncle. I mean, it's those kinds of relationships that end up just totally. It's just hard to come, even for me to think about it. For someone to, because it's about abusing, betraying, and exploiting a child.
Right.
So it gets thick quick.
How are they referred to you? I mean, you talk about the caregiver bringing the child to you, but I mean, typically they come to you after an arrest is made, or how do they learn about, okay, I need a service, I'm going to go to Our Kids? Do they get referred? Is it through the prosecutor's office? Is it on their own? Is it from a school referral? How does that work?
Great question, Nick. So pre-pandemic, we were evaluating upwards of 850 children a year, which makes us one of the largest clinics of our kind in the country. So normally, I would say 70% of the time, Department of Children's Services will call us. We start working on the case. Many times it's a medical provider. It could be a medical provider in an emergency department, a pediatrician. Sometimes it's a concerned caregiver who has either interrupted the assault or is observing very different and strange behavior in their child. So they call us up and
maybe early on, because I'm wondering then, it sounds to me like a lot of times, isn't it after already law enforcement is involved? Meaning,
no, not always.
So it may be someone, as you just said.
Sometimes it is, though. Sometimes it is.
Okay, so they'll notice very peculiar behavior that's all of a sudden happening, and they're like, whenever he or she comes back from the babysitter, for instance, or something like that, there's a problem here. I notice things. Now, at that point, not only if that were me, I mean, I would want to get help for my child, but if I became suspicious of that, first call I would make would be to law enforcement.
Yes, and so Tennessee, like probably all other states in this country, we're mandatory reporters. Adults are mandatory reporters.
It's a law to do it. To not report when you know is breaking the law.
Yes, and so if you have concerns for any reason about a child, physical abuse, sexual abuse, neglect, anything, we are mandatory reporters, and that's actually in 1987. That's how and why Our Kids was founded.
Oh.
Because two very fierce and smart women, Molly Bruneau and Beth O'Shea, when the law passed, they realized that even though Nashville was so resource rich, that there was one of the things that was lacking was a very specialized medical clinic to do these evaluations. These evaluations are a technical medical subspecialty. You have to know the research. You have to know, anatomy, pediatric anatomy. You have to. I mean, it's just very different from everything else. And the other thing is, it's very different from the world of adult sexual assault and those medical legal evaluations, because this is about a child, and so because most of our cases, only 10% of our cases come in emergently, meaning that the assault has just happened within 72 hours. Okay. So we need to, in that case,
that's only 10% of those cases come that quickly.
Yes, and so in that case, it's very important to sometimes we have to prophylax the child. Sometimes we have to collect an evidence kit. We have to do all this stuff, but because 90% of the time it hasn't happened within 72 hours. It's all about the mental and physical well-being of the child, but also the resilience of the family. And so, as I said at the very beginning of the show, children, when professionals talk about delayed disclosure, we sort of see that as redundant, because disclosures are almost always delayed. Children are really, really afraid that they're in trouble. They're confused. They really don't know what to do. And a lot of times, the perpetrator has used language and has said things like, "You can't tell anybody what we're doing or we'll get in trouble." I mean, that's like a little, that's pulling the child in, and so that they are complicit, even though they're a child. And
they manipulate them so that try to cover their tracks.
Total manipulation.
Yeah. Okay, but so I guess the main thing obviously is helping these children after they've gone through this type of trauma. But what you're doing when they come to you then, in conjunction with, I'm guessing, the prosecutor's office, you have the experts who are sitting down with these kids. You can help learn and build the case as to what exactly happened to them. So
I think the distinction here is that our primary function is to really address the medical needs of the child, the emotional needs of the child, but also the emotional needs of the caregiver, because our message is the most important thing is that you believe and protect your child. Your child is resilient, and so are you. Our message to the child is that you have done nothing wrong. This is not your fault. And the reason why I sort of interrupted you is because it is not we don't have the authority to substantiate or to push a case forward. We are at the SIPP table, so that stands for Child Protection Investigative Team Meetings. And we have the privilege and the honor of serving 16 judicial districts in Middle Tennessee.
Okay.
So we're at those SIPP tables with assistant DAs, with the Child Advocacy Center staff, with DCS, with law enforcement, and then we are the medical representative.
Okay, and who is it that sits down with the child? And these procedures I know have changed. And I'll let you answer this real quick and we'll go to the break. But like, for instance, you've heard in the past, and I don't know if they still use those, the dolls.
No.
They don't do any of that anymore?
No.
Okay, well, who sits down with the kid and starts asking what happened to you?
Okay, so that's really important. So the child advocacy centers are the ones that conduct, they have specially trained staff that conduct forensic interviews. Okay. So they are the ones
trying to build the criminal case by getting evidence.
Well,
you said you'll take rape kits sometimes or whatever.
Evidence kits.
Yeah, evidence kits.
So the child advocacy centers have specially trained forensic interviewers, and they're very specific questions and ways to question, to have
without suggesting, trying to get the legit answers from the child.
And law enforcement and DCS sometimes observe those interviews, and it's a really complex puzzle. But at the end of the day, I feel like that one of the most important things, and the reason why the medical exam is so important, is because we don't want to disrupt the natural resiliency of the child and the family. And when people are looking at children and they have their sexual abuse goggles on, her private parts are red, they're this and that, and there's no disclosure, mom's not concerned about it, the medical provider maybe in the emergency department is like, we got to call DCS, and this happens. I would say it happens several times a month that the child comes to us and the exam is absolutely normal. We have to, when I say there are no, it is not that, there's no infection. When somebody says, her hymen is ripped, this is an 8-year-old. Yeah. So they rush her over to us and our expert nurse practitioners say, her body is perfectly healthy. Her hymen, there's nothing wrong with the hymen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or the skin around here, the labia is red and blah blah blah, and they say no, that's a mimic of child sexual abuse. That's lichen sclerosis. It has nothing to do. Okay. And so it's treated with cream.
But you don't blame them for seeing that and reacting. As we go to break, and I'll let you comment when we come back. The question can be, though, certainly a child can come in and show no signs of abuse. That doesn't mean they weren't abused.
That's right.
Okay, we'll take a break and we'll come back and we'll let Sue elaborate on that. We're going to go into some other details as well, the basics of what to look for, what the law is all about, and what the great work Our Kids has and how you can support that organization as well. We can take calls too if you have a question or comment, if you've dealt with these types of issues. 737-7587. We'll be back right after this.